And joining us by telephone, Jeffrey Cooner, president of the Edmund Burke Institute. Jeffrey, thank you for joining our little party tonight. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing great tonight. And Obama's Watergate, officials cover up the culpability for gun smuggling and murder. Let's get into that, sir. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
So let's talk about Operation Fast and Furious and your take on things.
Well, it's a stunning development. I believe it is the major scandal of the Obama administration, on top of other scandals. It is a cancer on the administration and on the presidency. What we have now found out over the past several months through a widening congressional probe is as follows. The ATF, under the Justice Department, under Eric Holder's Justice Department, ran a gun smuggling and gun running operation in which they made straw gun purchases. They bought about 2,000 assault weapons from licensed dealers in Arizona and then illegally walked them and smuggled them into Mexico. Many of those weapons, about 1,500, have been lost. They are now floating in the streets of America, probably in the hands of drug cartels, drug kingpins, and gangsters. 300, innocent Mexicans have been murdered by these weapons. More importantly, U.S. Border Patrol agent Brian Terry, just over a year ago last week, was gunned down by these drug gangsters. At his death site were 2 AK-47s from Operation Fast and Furious. What congressional investigators are now finding out is this. Senior ATF managers oversaw and directly gave their sanction and consent to this operation. Many of them who now were exposed for their complicity in this illegal and fatal operation have been transferred to cushy, lucrative, bureaucratic jobs in the government. In other words, Eric Holder's Justice Department ordered the acting ATF director, Kenneth Melson, to, quote, get rid of these people, transfer these people, but don't tell the media why. Because their silence was being bought, their complicity was being swept under the rug. And so now many of these people, senior positions of ATF, they are not in any way talking. They are not divulging sensitive, important information. In fact, they have been promoted. Under congressional testimony, when pressed by investigators, Eric Holder has committed perjury. He has changed his story. He has given misleading testimony. He is engaging in obstruction of justice. Emails have now come out conclusively showing that the ATF, and in particular Eric Holder and his Justice Department, knew about Operation Fast and Furious months before Eric Holder claimed that he did. And so the question now is a very simple one. What did Eric Holder know, and when did he know it? Because under this operation, and let's make no mistake about it, 300 Mexicans are dead, women and children are dead, Border Patrol agent Brian Terry is dead, and it looks like countless, according to Holder himself, dozens of Americans will in the future be killed because of these guns. This is a huge story in Mexico. This is, to me, what is stunning, guys. In Mexico, this is front page news. It doesn't matter if you're left, center, or right. The Mexican president is furious. He has been making phone call after phone call to the ATF, to the Justice Department, to President Obama himself, saying, how could you guys be running guns illegally, effectively arming the Mexican drug cartels, where my citizens are being murdered? It's a bloodbath in Tijuana. It's a bloodbath in many of those cities along their border with the United States. And there's silence from Eric Holder. And as I point out in my column, Eric Holder is now slowly refusing to cooperate with Congress. He refuses to hand over emails, whether that he received or that he sent regarding Operation Fast and Furious. Why? Because those emails, as many congressional investigators are now telling me, will conclusively show he was intimately involved in the operation. He had direct knowledge, and he gave his consent. In other words, and there's no sugarcoating this, what was the heart of Watergate? What was the heart of the scandal that brought down Richard Nixon? It was political dirty tricks. It was abuse of power. It was bugging and surveying one's political opponents.
Was the cover-up, too.
It was a cover-up.
Jeff,
This is more than a cover-up.
Jeff, I want to ask
because
you...
unlike Watergate, nobody died. Here, an American
Well, that we know of
citizen
anyway.
is dead. This is why this story, I believe, is Obama's Watergate. It's even worse than Watergate. And if the Republicans press this issue, I believe it will bring down this administration, including the president himself.
Wow.
Jeff, over the weekend in the New York Times, Attorney General Holder said that racism is at the heart of people like yourself, like Andrew, like Katie here, people who want to find out the answers to Fast and Furious. So if you're going to add the president of Mexico to that list, is the president of Mexico racist?
Well, he's playing the race card, and this is what people on the Hill are telling me. He's desperate. They have him by the tonsils, and they know it. When he starts playing the race card, he's also playing the McCarthy card. He's comparing the chairman of the Government Reform Committee, Darrell Issa, who's really been spearheading this investigation. He's comparing him to Joseph McCarthy. He's going to call every name in the book.
Well, of course, McCarthy was right. So it's so it may not be the best strategy to.
But I mean, let's just leave that aside, whether he was right or not. The point is that when you start playing the McCarthy card, when you start playing the race card, you know that this man is desperate. And I think for all your listeners, the key point that I think needs to be stressed is this. The question is why? Why did the ATF and the Justice Department sanction this illegal smuggling gun-running operation? The ostensible reason they give is they wanted to track these weapons, to see into which hands of the drug cartels they would get into, what routes they use for these guns to be smuggled, and how they come back into the United States. In other words, it was part of a larger crackdown upon the growing drug violence on our southern border. However, 1,500 of those guns were lost.
Right.
Mexicans have been killed. A Border Patrol agent was killed. So what ATF officials eventually realized is, well, if our purpose is to crack down on crime, this is making crime even worse. The real reason is this, and this is what many Republicans rightly suspect. During 2010 and 2011, all Eric Holder and the Justice Department could keep talking about is growing violence on the border, the problem with gun smuggling, the problem with guns being illegally purchased and sent off to arm the drug cartels. And they were pushing for tighter and tougher gun control legislation and tougher gun control restrictions. In other words, this operation was sanctioned to further a political agenda, to strip away our Second Amendment rights, to push through an anti-gun control agenda. This is why those Mexicans have been killed. This is why Border Patrol Brian Terry is dead. This is why dozens of more Americans are going to die because of this illegal smuggling operation. This is the kind of thuggery, this is the kind of corruption, this is the kind of criminality that now reaches the senior levels of the Justice Department, all the way to Eric Holder, and I believe all the way to the president himself.
Well, and let's not forget Jaime's ICE agent, Jaime Zapata, as well, was killed with a gun that was linked to Operation Fast and Furious in Mexico after returning from a trip from Mexico City to the United States. So, and you have Eric Holder admitting in testimony a couple weeks ago that, yes, we're going to see more people being murdered as a result of this program, yet he's not willing to take any steps to get to the bottom of how it happened in order to prevent it from happening once again.
We're speaking. Yeah, go ahead, Jeffrey.
Sorry, I thought we were cut off.
No.
We're speaking with Jeffrey Cooner, president of the Edmund Burke Institute. A great piece in Washington Times about Cooner saying Obama's Watergate. And Jeffrey, you really lay it out well and describe, kind of the full, the full timeline of what happened here with Fast and Furious. How do you think, we're here in Washington D.C. inside the Beltway. How do you think this translates, and how do you think people outside of the Beltway are seeing this scandal roll out? How do you think they feel about it?
Well, I mean, the column has been picked up by all sorts of websites. It's gone viral. There's been millions of hits on it. It's a huge issue. I think middle America, I think the conservative heartland knows this is a major story. Because as the lady just rightly mentioned, there are other now bodies popping up. This is a massive scandal. We're talking now about American blood being shed on American soil, in which the government is victimizing its own citizens. And so this, to me, is the mother of all scandals. If the reporters and journalists in this city do their job, this, I think, is a Nobel Prize. This is a chance now to bring Obama down. This will bring Eric Holder down. This could be a replay of Watergate in the early 1970s. The reason why the mainstream media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, will not touch this story is because they are desperate to prop up this con man in the White House. And I think the $64,000 question is this. Did President Obama know, and what did he know? Because I got to tell you, my instincts as a journalist, being in this city for as many years as I've been in, following administration after administration, you do not run such a massive, widespread gun smuggling operation into a foreign country that involves senior levels of the ATF, senior levels of the Justice Department, and the President of the United States not know about it. It is too big, it is too risky, it is too costly. And I believe the reason why Eric Holder is stonewalling, why he is committing perjury, why he is obstructing justice, he is not just protecting himself and his cronies. I believe he is trying to insulate the president himself. And this is why this is the most important investigation of the entire Obama administration. And it shows the lengths they're going to go to not only protect ATF, to not only protect Holder, to not only protect Obama, but the lengths they're willing to go to undermine and fundamentally destroy our Second Amendment rights. This is the kind of radical socialist that Obama is. And this is why, as conservatives, as independents, as Democrats, as Americans, we should demand a full and thorough accounting. It is now time for the mainstream media to investigate this story, because Brian Terry is dead. His family has been destroyed forever. They deserve answers. And Eric Holder should be fired, and if he's not fired, he should be impeached.
And criminal charges should be brought to the people responsible for this as well.
And I think that goes all the way to Eric Holder. I believe that Eric Holder should not only be fired or impeached, I believe that criminal charges should be leveled against him. And then I think after that, when the Attorney General goes, and you have some of the senior ATF members whose now their silence and complicity has been bought, when they're put in front of a grand jury, I think they're going to start telling us how much pressure they were getting from the Justice Department. And in the end, I believe the internal documents and the emails will show a direct chain to Obama's chief of staff, to Vice President Biden, and I believe in the end to Obama himself.
And we already know that the White House was in contact with them. We know that there are emails showing contact between Kevin O'Reilly in the White House National Security Team and William Newell, who's the former Phoenix special agent in charge, who said he would do Fast and Furious again during his congressional testimony in July.
Wow. Jeffrey Cooner, thank you so much for being with us. Great piece. Cooner says, Obama's Watergate. Check it out, WashingtonTimes.com. Thank you so much, sir, for your great work, and thanks for being with us here on Cam & Company on NREnews.com and SiriusXM Patriot 125. Have a great evening, sir.
You too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.